I don't have a wide camera this time, though. Just give me 2 angles this time. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's all about the angle of the dangle.
What's up, guys? This is Josh from Runningscaredmotionpictures, and today I'm excited because I got my dude,
Captain Eric Cormier,
over here for our filmmaking video podcast.
Yeah, all about filmmaking.
What's going on?
Well, yeah, what is going on?
The office, renovations, changes,
It's
trying to
evolving.
get new set design.
Yeah.
Got some more lights coming in. We got some important Blu-rays up and some things like that. Continue to grow, and I'm growing with you on the team now.
I don't think there'll ever be a time that back wall will ever be like cement that we say we'll never touch it. There's always going to be evolving parts to it.
Oh, that's fluid back there.
Yeah.
But you like how I'm like, oh, and you're part of the team now. I give you this perfect thing, and then you're like, you lose the segue and you talk about the wall.
I don't want to talk about myself. As much of in front of the camera as I want to be, man, do I love behind the camera work. I love the bells and whistles of what makes a production run. And that's why I have such an appreciation for like when there's a finished product, it's not just about the people in the forefront. It is about the people in those credits, every single element to make that entire project.
Yeah. You're somebody I talk about often that I respect because of your knowledge and your appreciation for not just filmmaking, but basically all things creative and media that way. Like 90s cartoons are an encyclopedia. You know when a cartoon was created, when it last aired, when it last did this, when it last did that. And I think that's awesome. But you also have this tremendous work ethic when you show up on set and you bust your butt. Hey, Eric, I need you to grab those 3 C-stands with those lights, move them over there, set that up, and you just do it. Then when I'm like, Eric, I need you to play a cop in my newest short film, Eddie, which is in film festivals now and on YouTube.
Check that out. Watch that 5 times a day.
6.
Every week.
7.
365 days a year. Keep watching it.
We worked hard on that one.
And we did. $20,000 it took to make that entire project. It's absolutely
it's
incredible.
It did not. That was like a $300 production. He's being a jerk. There's an inside joke there. But then you stepped up to Eddie and you acted your tail off.
It's crazy because as you're mentioning that, I'm thinking about the first time I stepped into drama club at high school. And it was the last production of the year. And I just wanted to be crew. I just wanted to be stage crew to help out, bring all the heavy, stuff back on stage, off stage, in between the sets and whatnot. And somewhere along the line, just from talking with the director, he was like, "You're going to be a cowboy in this play." It was a play called Males Order Brides. It's like an old Western comedy. And I'm literally like, the play opens up and I kick through the saloon doors and basically say, "Howdy, y'all." Like, that's my only line in the entire play, and then I'm just a big cowboy
Someday
character.
I'm writing you in a part where you're going to say "Howdy, y'all" again.
Yeah,
absolutely. We're going to get
full
full
circle. But it's that same trajectory here is that I showed up here with the intention of just, hey, I want to be all hands on deck, help out wherever I can. What do you need? And then I make my way in front of camera.
That is a perfect segue. How did you come to find out about Running Scared Motion Pictures?
Ooh, that is a long story ahead of you. Actually, it's not. Michael Norman brought me here. Luckily, Mike and I's significant others are pretty good friends, best friends. So if you have a girlfriend or a wife and they have a friend and they have a boyfriend or a husband, when you're doing couple things, you try to find common ground with that other guy. You have, you're kind of forced to be with one another and dinners, and you might as well talk about what you're into. Luckily, Mike and I had a lot of common ground, so we didn't have to fake really anything. We had an organic friendship. We just started hanging out outside of couples nights and whatnot. And then he started working here at Running Scared Motion Pictures and knew that just what I wanted to bring to the table was a good fit here. And the second I walked in, it was perfect. I walked into your garage and it was, if a place was pre-planned for me to feel comfortable, your garage and everything, the way it was set up was like, you don't need to feel nervous or anxious. You're surrounded literally wall to wall by movies and cartoons, and all right,
You have the same nostalgia feels I do. Like, to me, I don't know what it is. Like we talk about the Nickelodeon days and that stuff, like the 90s Nick stuff.
Started.
Like, that's why I did the garage that way. My wife was, I hope I mentioned it enough. I feel like I haven't on a podcast enough. But like, my wife is my best friend, and she is literally the reason that I can chase this dream and even do all this stuff. Not only did she let me build the office in the basement, but she let me do whatever I want with the garage too. And that space is, like you just said, like that nostalgic. There's posters from ceiling to floor. There's nostalgia. There's skateboards up on the wall and all that stuff. We actually shot Roles Required in there. And that was my little safe haven, like you just described. Even for me, every time I walk in there, you know, I can play whatever music I want. I can play retro video games in there and just kind of like veg out and like live in the past, you know, before times were stressful. So I'm glad that you got the same experience and feeling out of it as I do when you walk in there.
It's got to be the same comfort that people feel like when they go to a sports bar. Like if you're really into sports and you're surrounded the wall-to-wall jerseys and helmets, and that just makes you comfortable. Or if you're a hunter and you go into a room and there's a bunch of animal heads on the wall, and that's that comfort level. Now, mine is posters of SpongeBob and Beetlejuice and whatever I was into. But that, you know, nostalgia is a powerful drug, and I like that you and I both have a mutual understanding of it. We're not like overthrown with it, but it definitely shapes who we are. We respect it. We honor it in everything we do. And man, that's why you and I gel. We're fluid.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, you know, when I assembled the team of Running Scared, it's like, it's funny because we had a pretty big compliment. I was telling you earlier, there's the joke with the $20,000, and we are no budget guys. I was a career firefighter paramedic that had a dream and a passion for filmmaking. And it's like, I learned and I taught, and I was lucky enough to find the group that I found, you know, the guys that have been on here and that are part of Running Scared now. And you guys just motivate me and push me to be like a better person. Like, I'm very much about like energy and feel and flow and connecting with people. I love people. And I hate people. And I worked on the ambulance for 15 years. But like, no, I understand, like, we're complicated, and like, that's what's beautiful about us. And I think, you know, it's kind of cheesy, but it's like what makes us human is our ability to tell stories. Like, I can't tell you how many times just, you know, I used to work in Holyoke on the ambulance, and I got to take, you know, people out of the soldiers' home. And a lot of these guys were like the last of the World War II vets that are, you know, now pretty much gone, that I got to talk to and hear their stories and just share and experience. So I've always been like a story lover, and like, you're the same way. You love stories, but then you also have that ability, like I do, the feels, the nostalgia, those things that hold on. Like the Nicktoons, I know. I like when we talk about Are You Afraid of the Dark in the opening scene to that, I know you feel it the same way I do.
Absolutely. No, you and I are in the same wavelength of that. But what's beautiful, especially about making films, making things with so many different people, when you have a set of even 6 people, you have 6 people of a variety of ages, backgrounds, experiences, good and bad. But in this moment, here are these 6 human beings that have this common goal. Like, we all want to make this, right? Yeah. Okay, let's do this. And you put everything behind you, you do it. And there's those magical moments where after you have edited some of the footage together and we're all sitting in a room, and if you ever just stop and look around when that footage is playing, you can like pause time, and you have these people all wide-eyed, and they just have this beautiful gaze and this smile on their face. And that's why you're just getting together. That's the beautiful part of creation, whether it's a film or whether you have like 6 or 7 bakers in a room making cakes and whatnot. Once again, different backgrounds, but you're just coming together, creating something. And it's that moment you're all chasing after.
Yeah, no, and again, it's like you said, the different backgrounds. That's where the creative element comes in. You know, I do things a certain way, you do things a certain way, but when we get together, it's like we don't do the things we would have done normally. We do something completely new, different, and organic, and oftentimes better than what we would have done to start with. All right, so you're part of Running Scared, but what is your dream? What is your passion? Like, what got you into the whole arts of the mystique of, I don't want to say just filmmaking, because you're much more than that. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, you're an animator. Would you consider yourself a cartoonist?
Yeah, more than anything else. Like, over time, I was known for being good at art, and I didn't, as a kid, going through school and being known as the artist, it was tough because I felt proud of that. Mm-hmm. But over time, I really didn't dip my toe into many different mediums. It came back to cartoons at the end of the day. Or if I was presented a project, you know, you got to paint, you know, this so-and-so, this still life, I would always try to spin it into, well, I don't want to just paint this flower. That's not interesting to me. Oh, I can make that flower look like it's from a Batman comic book. Oh, that is interesting to me. Now, I just have to find that area where it's, when does this become of interest? And then when I can catch that creativity, then I'm off to the races. And then I find some of my best work off of that, even if the end product doesn't scream to you, oh, that's from Batman. To me, like, I just had to find that edge to it, to where, like, yeah, and maybe to some people that's silly. I've taken that into my own way over time into how I create art. And so, yeah, I prefer Cartoonist because I tend to draw more cartoons than anything else. But yeah, just I love creating.
So animation's what got you into the creative flow is what you'd say?
Where I started with art was my very first art teacher, Pat Fury, from Enfield, Connecticut. He taught at St. Bernard's School, and he was my first art teacher, and he said something so profound to me once that stuck to me to this day. And it is the one phrase I go back to in creation. I don't remember what I drew, but I remember not liking it. And he came over to my picture and said, you know, I just wasn't really jazzed with it. And his response was, well, your picture made me smile, and that's all that's important.
That's powerful. Wow. I just felt that when you just said that to me right now.
Yeah. And in that moment, that's when I realized that it doesn't, like, I felt good from that. And that's when I realized it doesn't take 1,000 or 1,000,000 or the world to appreciate your art. If I can create a silly little podcast or a video, or I'm a part of a movie, and there's one person out there in the world that it can affect, it can make them smile, it can bring joy to their life, that's all I'm after. Legitimately. I don't need to build an empire or anything like that. Art is subjective. Sometimes there's the smallest piece of art that the masses just go gaga over. And then there's sometimes work that people spend 40 to 50 years of their life creating, and only a handful of people on this planet get to see it. But, you know, hopefully some of those people who saw it had an emotional response, and that's kind of what you're ultimately going after, right?
Yeah. You know what's funny? Matt had said something to me before that was kind of profound. He goes, I was complaining about like getting like 300 views on like a short film that I spent like 6 months working on or something.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, but Josh, he goes, if 300 people showed up to a movie theater to watch like your short, wouldn't you be pumped on that? I'm like, oh man, like it's all perspective, right? Like art and how you look at everything. Like that's what I love about it. The creativity, just that's what I'm saying. The way people look at things, like approaching this, like that's why I like the group that I've assembled. You know, we're just like, we gel, like you said, we've got great ideas and stuff. So you're a cartoonist.
Yeah. So it started out with art.
Yep.
And the crescendo moment, I would say, where I found like somewhat of a path and what I wanted to do was when I do have the ability of looking at a cartoon character pretty much once or twice, being able to draw it. When SpongeBob was on, that's when I was like watching the television and just like fascinated by how simple the designs were of these characters, but yet, you know, you could walk in being real cocky. Yeah, I can draw Patrick Star. Go ahead. You could try 1,000 times and it won't look as good as just a professional one done on television. Like there's just something sublime about it. So I'm sitting there practicing and I just thought, wait, like there's adults working on this show. There's people voicing. I can make cartoons. So for 10 years, I had this love of animation. I wanted to get into animation. That was my ultimate goal. Still, like, dream goal would be to get a cartoon on Nickelodeon, Comedy Central, Cartoon Network, wherever. Like, that would be a goal. But over time, because, you know, just either what I was into at the time or the people around me not maybe being as the rocket fuel I guess I needed for momentum, I didn't really find much in animation, but I broadened that to making movies and then broadened that to making audio. Hey, that's hand in hand with podcasts. So it just became about be creative, continually be creative, show the world what you're making. And if something along your life snags as, hey, you can work around this and make a living around this, because that's what my ultimate goal is. I just want to create, you know, whatever that ends up being my career around, I'll work around that. That's what I've been doing my whole life, is evolving that dream. I still have goals I would like to achieve, but I'm also, you know, realistic and just moving forward.
Yeah. So you started with animation.
Yep.
And then I would say, I guess maybe I'm speaking wrong on this, but I would say your bread and butter right now is podcasting. Is that your biggest project?
That's been like the last 10 years. I've been mainly making audio podcasts, and
what's
then
the
slowly,
audio podcast? You talk about that and plug it.
Yeah, I'll plug that. Currently, I make a podcast called I'm Ready, a Sponge Pod Squarecast. It's a podcast going over each and every episode of SpongeBob, not just to talk about what the episode is, but to bring up stories or any connections that you can find with those episodes. And what's beautiful about that is when I get to talk to somebody on that show, simple stories like delivering pizza could bring up interesting stories in life. Why does this one show and this character, why is it so globally beloved? You know, it's like a little piece of glue that helps bring us together. And that's kind of why I love SpongeBob so much. So making a podcast, talking about SpongeBob, but then getting to shine a light on the people who work on it and then bringing up life experiences connected with it, that's great. Like, that's what I love talking about it. And then connected with that, I also have This Week in Nickelodeon History, in which once a week I just talk about all the anniversaries of different shows that have come and gone, gets me to talk about them and whatnot. So
I'm going to steal your thunder, but you said something about SpongeBob that really impressed me one time. You're like, basically talking about people our generation that we're around, but you're like, who hasn't been affected by SpongeBob in one way or another? Right? Like, growing up, like, you watched it. Like, you had to have. At some point, like, you saw SpongeBob, right? I think, I'll admit this, I think the first time I saw SpongeBob, I want to say I was in the movie theater to see the Spice Girls movie. And it was like a bumper, like before the movie started or something. Yeah, I watched Spice Up Your Life or whatever it was, but I don't even care.
Spice World?
Yeah,
right?
They were
a cultural phenomenon. Who is not, you know what? If somebody is going to admit that they didn't like the Spice Girls when they were hot, they are lying. I don't believe
I like the Spice Girls.
Everybody
now.
loves the Spice Girls.
And also, so like, P.S. I Love You's up here because it's one of my favorite movies ever. So I don't care. And I also like the Spice Girls, so... I got way off topic.
You just wanted to talk about Spice Girls. This whole podcast, everything has just been about like leading up to this moment.
The new podcast name is now Spice Up Your Life.
Yeah.
All right. So you're an animator. You're a podcaster that has a great outlook on cartoons and nostalgia.
So you were saying something about SpongeBob, though. Like, there's something so sublime is the only word I can really come up with it, where it's just like it's encompassing. Like, I don't have enough words to explain how I feel, but when you have a show like that, where look at the just in meme culture today, how many of those memes are made up of just like 3 seasons that aired 3-4 years on television, and then just the global impact where you could wear a SpongeBob t-shirt, go into a corner of the world that doesn't know English, but they see that character on your shirt and you immediately have a connection with that person. And the jokes, like, there might be jokes that culturally not land in other places, but there are definitely some slapstick that lands everywhere. People know certain jokes, and that's beautiful. You know, yeah, Mickey Mouse has that, but I don't know. I think SpongeBob has that in a much stronger way because, yeah, everybody's like used to Mickey, but nobody smiles the way that people can smile when then SpongeBob is brought up. I'm excited to eventually get into a nursing home, because when my generation is in that nursing home, I can't wait till to just be like SpongeBob one-liners just yelling out everywhere, like all the stuff that people are still 2 decades later still spouting, and it's like popular media everywhere is SpongeBob related. So
you're going to be that guy that just like screams random SpongeBob stuff while people are just trying to sleep, and they're like, oh, this guy again.
I'm going to be the one guy. I'm propping this up for more people, but I'll be the one guy like, Mr. Cormier, you got to go put his SpongeBob DVDs on again. He's getting a bit cranky. Go put his Nicktoons on.
Bubble bath now.
Let me just say, future children of mine, don't put me in a nursing home. I don't want to put me in a Nickelodeon time capsule and put me in the ground. That's it.
You get frozen.
That's a real thing. Do you know about that?
No.
It was an actual time capsule. I think it was 1991 or 2, in that early 90s frame. They made a time capsule. I think it was 91, because there was a Ren and Stimpy shirt in there. They buried it at Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Florida. And once that was done, they reburied it over at the Nickelodeon Hotel. And I think now currently the time capsule's in front of the animation studio to be opened up, I think like 35, 40 years later or something. It's still not open, but I don't know. That's really interesting.
I'm really glad you just said that, because that's exactly what I was talking about. Like, if you want to go over and watch his podcast, it's not just about SpongeBob. He's a wealth of knowledge with stuff like that. It's all the nostalgia. It's all the facts. It's all the tie-ins. A little bit about life. A little bit about everything, right? Just
it's not just like nerdy spewage of information. There's structure to it, and I'm self-aware. I understand, like,
I'm a grown man that likes cartoons.
I'm a grown man. I understand it. Like,
I have a beard.
There's a crowd for it. I've had to be around my friends who've had to listen to this, so I've tested it over time on the information that works and what doesn't. But
All right, so that's awesome. So
Yeah.
you got your podcast, you've got some animation, and then you've got what you do with Running Scared. What you tell me what you do with Running Scared? What?
Everything, whatever's asked of me. I don't have a position here. I don't have a title. It's just I show up, and if you need me to do something, hold, work, that all sounds inappropriate, but nonetheless, whatever needs to be done for the production is what is asked of me. Like that's what I do. Whatever title you would give that in a professional sense, that's what I am. But I've told you earlier when we were talking, we were having just a bit of a heart-to-heart about, you know, productions and whatnot. My goal in any production that I'm a part of is for the people who have the passion behind it, for that product to be the best that it can be. And whatever I have to have a part of that in, if that means on camera, behind the camera, just holding a boom mic, then that's where I'm at. If it's something I'm passionate about, I know that those people that I'm helping are going to be behind me 100%. So I like to give that all, you know, I like to give it my all so that I can get that back if I ever need it.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say I think up until this point, I've done pretty good at staying on track and trying to stay organized. But I realized the last thing I wanted to end on with your podcast is where can people find it? Where can people find? Well, I'll plug it in all the info.
Oh, yeah,
here,
all
like,
the stuff.
Just your info.
No, yeah. If you search up on YouTube, Captain Eric, that's my main YouTube channel. That's my baby right now. I'm putting more video content out there. Finally, I think in the next week or two, my audio podcast will finally be up to date on YouTube, which has been a year coming. But life gets in the way, guys. I record 2 podcasts a week and 40-hour-a-week job. The captain's busy, so things happen.
And we're trying to make magic.
Trying to make magic here. There's a lot of, I'm hopping from ship to ship. But yeah, Captain Eric on YouTube. If you have Spotify or anywhere that you have podcasts, just search "I'm Ready," a Sponge Pod Squarecast, or search "This Week in Nickelodeon History," Captain Eric. I'll show up on there. But yeah, share that information out. The videos, the audio. I always tell people that there will never be a fee to be a part of the Ready crew. You just have to be grateful to be there, be happy, be positive, give off a good vibe, and let people know that this exists, because that's the only thing I've ever asked from my listeners is just like, hey, like if there's a way that you see fit on supporting, liking a video, just sharing, by all means, I appreciate it nonetheless.
Yeah, and we have some footage that you'll be putting on your channel too that we shot here. Some cool stuff, unboxings. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, there's a lot of professional level videos I'd like to make for the channel. Reviews of just the Nickelodeon Pop series, just unboxings, ways to show off what we can produce here at Running Scared Motion Pictures beyond what we upload on our YouTube channel, just to show that the level of production can be shown elsewhere. So.
Can we be different and call our unboxings unpantsings instead?
Those could be a whole new series of videos, just unpantsings.
Awesome. So we've got some stuff coming up in the future that I'm pretty excited about. I think we're rounding that corner where, exciting things are going to start to happen. We're growing, we're expanding, we're reaching out. I do want to take a quick second to give my Uncle Shelly a big shout out for the vintage camera stuff.
Uncle Shelly,
right? He hooked up the vintage cameras back here. Great job.
Absolutely wonderful.
Also, thank you, Mama. You are the absolute best.
Mama DeForge.
Right?
Oh.
She seriously, man, like I don't even want to talk.
Bless her heart.
I'll start crying. I gotta stop right now.
No, I know. Like
she's
our mothers too. We've had an emotional Mother Day as well. Shout out to my mom, by the way, busting her butt today as she is saying goodbye to my grandmother's house. So today of all days, shout out to Mama Cormier, or Mama Arnold as she is known these days. But to all moms out there, but Mama DeForge, Running Scared Motion Pictures,
and that's part of it though, right? Like you understand that, like you can't succeed without good people. I mean, you can succeed without good people backing you, but it's way harder. Like the support that we have, like you understand how important family is. Like for as much as I love being creative in all these arts and all this stuff, like my family is literally everything to me. Like, you hear now, they talk about it a lot, especially this whole job thing going on. Like, oh, you're just a number, you fill a spot, your job will replace. Like it's all true, man. Like being a paramedic, seeing a lot of people at the end of their life, they never cared about the boat that they were on, the vacation house that they were at, or what, country that they were in. It was the people that they were with at the times, it's the people, it's the family. That's what matters. And you understand that, like your family is so important to you. And like, that's just like such an admirable quality that I find in you.
Yeah. Family, we could do a whole podcast about family. There's so much to talk
series
about.
of
It's like,
podcasts,
oh my
literally.
goodness. But at the end of the day, it's like family when you don't get to pick your family, but when you can take a step back and just realize that, these are people that you were placed with, that they're here for, they're here with you on this planet, and you have people here that like you're connected with. And sometimes it might work out in a negative way, and that's unfortunate, and it happens. But when you can even have that one cousin or that one aunt or uncle who may not even be blood, but like once they are family, once somebody becomes family, they're family.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't that's beautiful, is that family doesn't have to be blood. I was like trying to be profound here with family, and then I forgot, you don't even have to have blood family members to consider. My best friend in my life is part of my family, so even if he's not blood, oh my goodness, like once you're a part of that, you're here for life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the important stuff right there. So awesome.
Absolutely.
We'll move on to the future projects we got going on. Right now, it's still kind
exciting.
of a pipe dream. I don't want to talk about it too early, but there's a chance we might be looking to do a feature film. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I think there is a chance. If everything lines up perfect, we can make it happen. So I'm terrified because it's going to be a lot of work and I'm going to have to make everything line up perfect. But I just think that we're in a spot right now where...
Just go with the same whimsy that you've gone with every other project you've had. It'll work out in the end. That's what I'll say.
Well, now I feel like my lighting's been getting dialed in. And like, that's thanks to you too. Like, just helping me be able to like have the time on set to move the lighting. It's like, you definitely are understanding what I'm trying to do with lighting too, because I can tell you where to set it, and it's usually set and set up the way I wanted. So it's like I don't have to like micromanage that either. So you've taken so much of that type of stuff off my plate and made my job a lot easier to focus on the more important things. And I feel like now we're at this point where really Eddie was great. We did some, I couldn't be happier with that. And it's funny because I didn't love that script when I wrote it because I'm not like the biggest like serial killer fan, but I don't know. We hit magic that day, but the script that I'm working on now, 40 pages deep, and I honestly, Mike's going to be here in a bit, and we'll wait to go over it with him, but I'm excited to pitch it to you guys. I'm pretty impressed, and, we'll see what we can do, but I just, knowing, like, having you guys back me, like, we can do this, we can grow, and like I say before, like I've said in other podcasts, like, if you are a new filmmaker or somebody that's thinking about doing this, you've never shot anything before, but you want to, do it. The worst thing that happens is you don't like it, you try something else, but like, the creative outlet that filmmaking has given me it's been life-changing. Look at my house now. And never in a million... Well, it's funny. In a million years, I never ever would have thought I was going to be a paramedic firefighter for 15 years if you asked me when I was younger. And then on top of that, I never thought I'd be making like any productions or films or anything like that. And yet here we are. And it's just... We've talked about the mental release.
Literally, when it comes to creation, whether or not it's movies or paintings or podcasts or anything... You look at professional level productions or finished products and you get worried and you go, I can't do that. There's millions of people out there so anxiety ridden over not being able to reach those levels. But you can. And the entry level is so easy for all of these processes. And all it takes is for you to just have the passion to want to keep doing something for yourself. And as long as you keep doing it, people will follow you if that's your goal. You can only get to episode 100 of a show unless you get to episode 1. And, as you said earlier, with the amount of people watching stuff, don't let that bother you. If you have a podcast or you put out YouTube videos and there's only 20 people watching them, think about a room. And if 20 people every week showed up to listen to you or watch your stuff, that's pretty cool. So don't, I understand just the internet being alone in a room. It's hard to be in that mindset, but you have to, because even if you're a streamer and there's like 5 people watching you, cool. That's 5 people like diverting their attention to watching you. Like, don't let it get bummed out that it's not 1,000.
You got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
That's absolutely the point. And then again, it's find somebody that's doing this, find people that want to do this and get together and watch Film Riot. Like, that's all you have to do. I'm hoping that once we get all the introductions done with the podcast, we're early on, we're going to end up doing more like gear stuff, breakdowns. We'll talk about breaking down scripts, and we're kind of going to take a page out of Film Riot's book, I guess, but like, they did a lot of their stuff like years ago now. There's been a change. So I think there's a slightly different style. A lot of their stuff still holds up to date. I'm not but I think we've we've kind of done things differently and learned things a little bit differently too, you know, and now I think we have kind of a unique way of doing things. We've developed our style, and I'd like to show people that. You know, for me, when it comes to creativity and arts like this, I'll be honest, when I was younger, I was like a really shitty drummer, and I was like competitive. I'd look at like the people around me and be like, oh man, I'm better than. I don't care anymore. I don't care about who's better. Like, I want everybody to succeed. Like, nothing makes me happier than like, a different filmmaker than me making an awesome piece that I enjoy. Like, we're going to consume so much media in our lifetime. Like, it's not just like we find one person and we're like, nope, this is it. I'm not watching your stuff because I only watch this stuff. Like, we need media, we need arts, and we need good media and good art. So I love that positive energy and like just building people up.
Everybody has a voice. You just have to find the correct way to present that voice. It doesn't have to be one medium. Like, there's painters out there who, if you follow their entire career, you can see their voice and what they were trying to tell you or what they were going through in their life. They were speaking through their paint. Okay, you might not be a painter. Do something else. Find that way to express your voice, because at the end of the day, we all want to be heard and we all want to be seen and we all want to be appreciated. You know, we all want to receive that pat in the back, like, hey, good job. Yeah. I like this. Yeah. You know, just like that art teacher going, this made me smile. That's all that matters.
My wife's a kindergarten teacher, and she's the funniest thing. She says in her class, if you say something mean to somebody, you're a bucket dipper. Like, you took something away from them. But if you give somebody a compliment, you're a bucket filler.
It's the metaphorical take a penny, leave a penny.
But it's like, it's so true. And it's like, it's so funny because like during COVID, she was teaching at home. So I would hear her like up, you know, singing songs and hopping around and stuff. And it was funny to me because I'm like, man, like the stuff that they teach these kids, like this is how people should be. Like, it's about like being kind, being compassionate, being understanding, letting people make mistakes, but growing from it and not crucifying them. Like,
yeah.
What a concept.
Well,
right?
And people think this is so like, you know, I don't want to use any terminology, but they think this is soft, where I taught and I dealt with kids who were younger. The worst thing that you could do is, especially if you have a child who might be, you know, a little bit of a trouble, is you just keep bringing up the negatives. You have to find positives. Everybody has a positive. So yeah, you might bring up like, hey, you know, you were a little bit energetic today, but that finger painting you made was really good. Like, you have to give people those moments to not just experience like, yeah, you messed up a little bit, but also what are you doing right? If you continually hammer in on somebody like negative, then what do you expect them to feel? Some people have the ability to fight that off completely without any help, and good for them. But I think it's just only natural to want it. Like, what am I doing right over here? Can somebody, anyone?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
So recently we back onto the topic, because again, I feel like I definitely am more on pace this time. I'm getting back to the topics I wanted to.
Dude, this is just audio. You can do whatever we talk about whatever we want. I've been trying to find a way to fit in Spice Girls to rename Running Scared Motion Pictures to make it like really a Spice Girls macho podcast.
If somebody wants to write like a Spice Girls fan fiction short film and send it to us, we can dress up in drag and we will Spice Girls it up and we will spice up your life.
I'm not trying to make this all about Spice Girls, but if it ends up becoming that way, like I said, I'll go down any avenue where I'm going to find success.
Could you imagine like 5 years from now, like somebody writes a Spice Girls thing, we blow up and like that's what makes us famous, like those dudes that did that Spice Girls parody?
Yeah.
And like I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. If you were one of the Spice Girls, who's your choice? Because I'm going with Ginger simply because I don't fit in any other category, and I think I got red hairs in my beard a little bit, so I got the Ginger Spice.
My wife already knows this. I told her that if we don't work,
you've already had this conversation with her,
which we will. But if we didn't, it would be nothing but redheads from here on out. So
you're just trying to take my thunder, is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I had to follow it back with more than just a name so you understood where I was coming from, so you didn't think I was just stealing your thunder.
Yeah, I get it.
Or Victoria Beckham. I mean, come on, like, let's be honest.
Let's just be real here. It's all about the spice. Spice up your life, everybody.
They were all great, though. They were all great.
What a great phenomenon they were. Like, seriously. They showed up out of nowhere, and it was like every song was a hit. They had a movie, they had a video game, and then to this day, they're still packing in stadiums of people. Yeah. If they were at Gillette Stadium in New England, I'd get tickets to go see the Spice Girls.
I'd go with you.
Thank you. There you go. Two tickets already sold. Let's go.
Right. We were talking about growth. So recently, in honor of growth, I started promoting what we were kind of doing, trying to get some access to other actors and some other crew people. And I was honestly really nervous about doing it because, again, like, I think we got kind of good, kind of fast at what we're doing, and we put out some really cool stuff, and people think it's like a higher budget or production than it is. So I was like nervous because I'm like, man, like, people are going to see this and one of two things are going to happen. They're either going to be like, just not take the time to respond or just browse through it, like, you know, everything on the internet, or they'd be like, this kid honestly think he has a chance of like trying to do something cool like this, you know, just anxiety and just like stress and worry. But I posted it and we got a ton of people that hit us back that want to do stuff. So it's like, I think that the growth and the development of Running Scared is going to be crazy. I mean, we're going to start turning out a lot of short films. We're going to start trying to turn out feature films. I'm going to start going in after and trying to get a lot more commercial work to hopefully bring people on. And, you know, I like to work with the same people over and over, like we talked about earlier, because you make a connection with somebody and it's more likely that they'll show up. You know, when you're hinging on like meeting somebody you've never met before and like if they don't show up, the whole production sinks. Like, that sucks. That's a scary thing to think about, especially if it's a commercial for a paying gig.
Well, the worst thing, even going back to when I was in drama club, the worst thing to happen is when kids would show up, other students, they don't want to be there, but they're there. And then because of that, it just ends up throwing everything off or becoming a nuisance or a distraction. I mean, that can happen everywhere, but I remember that happening all the time. Like, school's not in session. You can be home. Why aren't you there? If you want to be here, help make this thing we're trying to put on together. But if not, I don't understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when people like when they want to show up and make something like that's.
I'm excited. Like I said,
we got good stuff coming.
All right. So we kind of talked about, you've done a lot of things either behind the camera, in front of the camera. Explain your process the first time you did an acting role. I want to, like, what I think is cool. We deal with a lot of people. So when people come on the show, what I want to be able to do is like have them express like, here's what I thought it was like. Here's what it ended up being like. You know, it was a small production, it was a large production. Like, just what kind of got you into it? Talk about your first acting experience.
The acting experience was being on stage for Mails Order Brides. And it was that one line. And then I literally go sit down at the saloon and I'm just a background character, but it was very nerve-wracking up to the moment it happened.
How did you hear about it? How did it even get brought to your attention?
My mom, in freshman year of high school, I was just, I don't know, I wouldn't say a troubled kid in school, but I just ended up being at the wrong place at the wrong time more than I wanted to. And my mom knew you just need something to keep your attention in school. So whether it be a sport or a club or drama club, get into something. She said, show up and say you'll paint the background. So that's what I did. And I ended up just getting dragged into the background crew. And I have somewhat of an open personality. And that just led to then the director of the entire programs trying to give me roles throughout my career there. Like, I wasn't just the cowboy once. Like, every year I had, he was trying to give me roles that were more expanding. Senior year, I was not only a dancer in the background of Footloose, I don't dance. So that was terrible. But then I was also the cop in Footloose. And I had a couple lines for that production. Leaving drama club, I didn't want to continue being an actor, but I still did like enjoying being a personality. So I enjoyed hosting the talent show for our senior year. I liked hosting the talent show in college. I was a radio host in college on 107.7. WACC.
There you go.
Yeah. So just, yeah, I always had that bug more than anything else. Being a host, being just a personality that is comfortable talking in front of people, talking in front of a crowd. Never had that issue. So that just kind of comes hand in hand with acting. If you can get the fear of speaking in front of 100 people, well, then you can get the fear of acting in front of 6 of your friends with a camera, you know, in a basement or somewhere. Like,
yeah. The first time you knew you were going to step out in front of these hundreds of people, though, like, what was going through your head? Like, what happened? You're standing backstage or waiting to get called up, or like what?
I focus in. Well, the talent show was nerve-wracking because not only I signed up for 3 different things to do. I'm a bit of an overachiever, and there was also a lackluster sign-up list, and it was just like, wait, we're going to show up for 4 acts. Fine, I'll sing a song, I'll dance Electric Avenue, and I forgot what the third item was, but then I got dragged into hosting it. Then the entire theater is packed in, and this was more people. I mean, the drama club packed in a theater, but this was more of my peers than I expected. And yeah, it's nerve-wracking, but when you walk on a stage and those lights are shining in your face, you really can't see the audience, so it's very easy to just kind of block out who you're speaking to and then maybe focus in on one little detail in the room, like, oh, that one light bulb is not as shiny as the rest of them. And that thought can help me get through anything, because then in my head, I'm just speaking what I'm supposed to be doing, and you're kind of then acting out to nobody, but then you're focusing on that one thing in your head. So I was able to get that skill down earlier. So then when I went to like acting classes in college and public speaking, I was able to like, these are the skills they were trying to teach people that day one. I was like, oh, all right, I have that already. So
what did you do to get in the mindset for Eddie? Was it different than the first time? Did you change anything, or is it
Eddie was definitely different than any other production, especially when I came to set and we had that car, because it like the set, the lights, everything was set up, and it was just, okay, this is on a different level. It's a nervousness, because it goes back to wanting to make, it's your project, it's your film, you're the director, you're putting me in this role. I want to make sure I'm doing a good job. So if anything else, it's that level of nervousness more than being in a car with all the cameras and the other people. Like, I'm more focused about you and your love of the scene or what I'm doing as an actor than any, like, you could have had 1,000 people surrounding that car and it would be you I would have been focused on that entire time. Like, that nervousness would have had me like sweating more than anything else.
Yeah. When I first gave you the script, what'd you do with it? How, like, what's your strategy? Do you read the whole thing? Do you break it down? Do you find your lines first?
I gotta be focused. I'm not a reader. I'm a listener more than anything else. So like reading books, I'd rather watch the film version, not because I prefer it. Like, I understand more than half the time the books are better, but it's just like, I don't have the time to sit there and read it. Is there an audiobook version of it? I'll listen to it. So I didn't read the script the first time I got it, but as time got closer to production, I compartmentalize each part of the script and learn it bit by bit. And I got more comfortable with it as I was reading into it, so that by the time I showed up to set, I at least had a fundamental knowledge of the character and what they're saying, but still, I want to honor the words that are written on the script, but I also want to be as natural as possible. If there's a framing of a sentence that is not going to naturally come out of my mouth, like the way it's written, but the way I speak and think, there might be something that will work better. I'm ready for that at the same time, so that I can at least try to work that in and see, how things work out.
I try to be very lax with that too, because like I said, like, it's tough. They always say, like, as a writer, like, your character is better than anybody, and I do believe that's true to start. But then, like, when the actor or actress like starts to get into that character's head, like, I feel like they know them more. You were trying to keep a world of characters and figure them out. They're focused on one character, so like, I don't know, like, if it doesn't fit or if it really doesn't stand out, I'd say no. But if the actor actress is like, they feel that's the way it's supposed to be done, like, believe them. I don't know.
I have that comfortability with you. Like, obviously, if I was going to work for somebody like Quentin Tarantino or James Gunn, Kevin Smith, somebody who, these people are known for what they're writing on the page. Their scripts are being purchased by the dozens. I'm not showing up with any other mindset other than I'm going to do exactly what I'm told. But I know with you, we have that like openability of, hey, does this work a little bit better? And
Eric's like, you're like, so bad at writing scripts.
No,
you just,
no. Just from from working with you day one, you were, because you would throw that at actors. You have asked every actor on set that I've ever seen you interact with, like, hey, do you think this is good? Do you have any other ideas? Would you say this any differently? You've always been open with trying to get that natural feeling behind, because every person is different, and there's some actors out there who you can ask to do anything and they can mold, and there's other actors that they're better, if you keep them in a certain lane, but if you can get that natural feeling from them, that's going to be the best performance for the production.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. That's awesome. When we shot Eddie and you got to read the script, did it end up turning out the way you thought it was going to?
Yeah, I actually a little bit better, because in my head I was picturing the end result of Eddie being a bit more of a goofy yokel to kind of counteract the legitimate horror behind the actual man. And I was expecting that in the back of my head, because that's how I would write it, but I was not expecting the musical score that you chose. So like, when that came into play, you and I didn't even discuss just any bit of that end being goofy, but when you brought in that music, I was like, oh, we spoke without even speaking, because he was thinking the exact same thing I was. Like, I don't know if I'm making anything about Ed Gein, like, it is a serious matter, but at the same time, like, I don't know, got to bring some sort of just goofy level to it, because if not, it's just, you know, it's just a serious mess there that we're making. Why?
No,
the guy was, I don't know, guy had, I don't want to,
well, it's funny,
I don't want to say it a goofy edge to him. He actually was a legitimate, like, bad person.
No, but
when you add that southern music, I don't know, that just makes it a little bit funnier and bearable, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially with what he's doing, it adds like.
Well, back to the family thing a little bit. Like, my dad came over one day and he helped me, or he didn't help me. He wrote that ending song for Eddie, and like Matt Bianchi says, like the juxtaposition of how serious and like what we did with the story to then all of a sudden go into that song.
It's perfect.
It just hit when I had originally edited it. You and Mike were driving and the song was playing in the background, but it didn't quite fit. And when I started to cut it as a full like story, that didn't work. And I don't know, like I got to a certain point and I looked at it, I'm just like, you know what would be weird? I put it on and I instantly just fell in love. Like it was perfect.
Not that everything needs a juxtaposition. You know, when the Titanic is sinking, and you know, it's not like the guys are going to play a goofy song. Sometimes you do need a somber music for the moment. But I don't know, when you're just filming Ed Gein cutting someone's face off, all right, you're going to throw a serious score over this? Come on, let's have some fun here.
And now for the rest of my life, like I'll be able to watch the behind the scenes, and there's like a 48-second clip or something over up on our YouTube channel where my dad came over, and but that's why I do this. Like that's the stuff that matters to me. Like I was talking about earlier about like the things that you remember when you die. It's going to be like, you know, that day with my dad and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
like,
we had a fun night. Yeah. You're going to like go through a nice little viewfinder of all those key moments or those key memories, those, or what are they calling Inside Out, the core memory, you know, those little orbs, those moments in time that you're just going to remember for the rest of your life. And those nights that we're out there filming with fake blood and lights, and it's cold and uncomfortable, but we're all just laughing and having a fun time, knowing full well that the end result is going to not be goofy and silly. It's going to come off serious. It's going to look good. We're making good stuff. Like, that's what drives all of us. That's what's about the fun, because we know we can let loose a little bit. Yeah.
Well, with Eddie, that was the first time I kind of, again, not that it's got a comical take on it, but it's not, I don't know. I was trying to be, I guess, more serious with my other stuff, but Eddie, I just kind of let it happen. And now this project we're talking about working on is like a horror romantic comedy. And I'm terrified because that's just a whole different like writing set.
Don't open up. Don't pull back the curtain too much.
Yeah, right.
You're teasing. No, you're like the Wizard of Oz. Like, you want to see behind here, huh?
Oh, we'll have it though. It's gonna come out. Like it motivates me more. If I say it and it's out there, then you have to like follow through with it a little bit. But all right, well, Eric, it's been phenomenal having you on here.
As always.
Before we get off, I do have a couple quick questions.
Go ahead.
In the future, I'm going to start getting like questions sent to my guests beforehand so they can look at it instead of just showing up and talking. But you were phenomenal. I feel like our flow is good. You don't have to give me your top 5 in any order, but 5 of your favorite movies ever.
5 of my favorite movies. And I can give them explanations. As much of a cinephile as I am, I fully admit that like the movies that I personally love are not going to be any film critics' top 10s, but these are the movies that are just like, they bring me the most joy. Number 1, Clerks by Kevin Smith. It's just... funny story about that. Going through the Blockbuster stores, which kids just don't have the experience of these days, and trying to pick out like the movies or games that you're going to have for the weekend. I remember in the comedy section coming across Clerks, the movie, and then Clerks, the cartoon. Now at this age, I was only ever shown cartoons being made into live action movies. I had never come across a live action movie being made into a cartoon, or at least I didn't think about it at the time. So I was like, wow, they made a live action movie of this cartoon named Clerks. And then when we got Stars at my parents' house, I came across that movie, watched it, realized this was definitely, the cartoon was made afterwards, but then fell in love and have watched that movie like 1,000 times since. I put it on 4K, put it in 3D. I'll watch Clerks day and night. Also, a little trivia fact, there is an episode of my podcast that is that I made that only Kevin Smith and I have listened to, because I made it specifically for him. I gave it to him on a little Batman USB drive, and I was like, you've been making me podcasts for years. I made you a podcast. And he like blown away by that. I don't know if he's actually listened to it, but Yeah, the episode about Kevin Smith is never going to
Well, so Kevin
be
Smith,
listened.
when you see this, could you reach out and
Yeah,
let us
like,
know?
can you at least, like, did I do a good job there, guy? Can I work with Smodcast? So Clerks, The Big Lebowski.
Rob loves that movie too. Absolutely loves it.
I will tell you, and my coworker who is not into movies will back me up on this, and every person, if you watch that movie once and it doesn't click with you, you have to watch it 2 or 3 times. There'll be a moment where all of a sudden everything opens up and then you can enjoy it. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie, like, just joy from beginning to end. I gotta say, just Jackass as a film series, I love that, and brings me so much joy as well. Like, those antics and the way they're filmed and the editing and just the camaraderie, the friendship of those movies. I love them. I know they're not like cinema and it's just dudes making pranks and pooping and vomit.
It's art.
It's art. I like it, whatever. And then The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight. I love Batman, and it's the crescendo of everything coming together in the best possible way. I love Jack Nicholson's Joker, but that moment of everybody coming down on Heath Ledger as the Joker casting and then coming out with a performance like that. I point to that moment when anytime somebody talks about casting, it's like, you know what? Stop. Everyone came down when Michael Keaton was announced as Batman, and then everyone came down when Heath Ledger was announced as the Joker, and both guys knocked it out of the park. So when it comes to Batman casting, I think people know what they're doing up there in Warner Brothers, at least 90% of the time.
I feel like I should have just honestly asked you about that stuff because you got fired up and we're like so passionate about
Dude,
it.
I'm talking about this stuff day and night.
All right, music. What's the music you love?
God, it's even worse. I love the Beatles. In the 5th grade, my elementary school every year had a big chorus show, and the one time I ever joined and was a part of it from beginning to end was Alcorn Kids Sing the Beatles. So I learned all the Beatles songs. I became a fan of their songs, so I love them. I love Tenacious D. I love me some Jack Black, Kyle Gass. That idea of just, I'm not musically inclined, but man, if I was, I would want to find someone who else like me, you know, with a guitar and want to just make goofy songs like that. I love Tenacious D.
Greatest song in the world was honestly not the greatest song in the world, but it was fun. Still to this day, I bump it down here sometimes. I'll be doing something in the office.
Like, some of their songs, like Wonder Boy, any from the first album, The Pick of Destiny is a great album.
Did you play Brutal Legend?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, right.
That's right up my alley. That's like, just classic rock, Metallica, Johnny Cash. And for a 5th, did I put Metallica under classic rock? I didn't mean that, but
5 doesn't matter. Just whatever you feel.
You know what?
If you got more, give me more. What do you?
I'm gonna say Pink Floyd is my 5th one. So that's a weird.
Interesting fact. I can't fucking stand Pink Floyd. I hate that. I don't know why.
There's so many. Here's the thing. I don't like a lot of bands. Every band in the world, there's at least one song of theirs that I absolutely mess with. Like right now, I am just obsessed with listening to Wigwam's "Do You Really Want to Taste It?" the theme song to Peacemaker. I've listened to this song every day for the last 2 months. So I can't say I like the band's discography, but I love their songs. Like any band out there, I love a bit of their stuff, but I love rap, rock, country. Being at a radio station, you have to play so many different things for so many different people, because I used to open up the phone lines and call in and ask what you want. I'll play whatever you want. If you're listening to the Awesome Eric Show, I'm going to play what you want. Nice. That was the name of my show, by the way. It was terrible.
No, I like that. All right, and if you could have any job right now as in any industry, would you be a director? What would you do? What would be the dream job?
Dream job right now would, if it's something of my own creation, I would love to take, I've come up with this in the last few weeks, but I would love to take the idea of just Captain Eric and be a curator of Nickelodeon shows. I would love to have a talk show on their network during that Nick at Night time slot, half hour or an hour long, where you bring on, hey, Rob Paulson is going to come on and talk about some of the cartoons he's done. We're going to air an episode of Jimmy Neutron tonight, give you some of the facts, just live content. You can have a live talk show like that Monday through Friday. There's so many people who love the older Nickelodeon stuff. And even when you age out of the 90s into the 2000s stuff and bring into that crowd, there's just so much. That would be a dream of mine, to be able to do something like that and have a Pee-wee's Playhouse style wall, when you go into Shenanigans and they have all the goofy stuff on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Just have Nickelodeon stuff like the Danny Phantom ghost container and the clown from Are You Afraid of the Dark, and just that would be a dream. Other than that, working with directors and people in Hollywood I admire, guys I've mentioned in previous podcasts other times, guys I'm obsessed with, the Kevin Smiths, the James Gunns. Yes, I would love to be the towel boy on the set of a James Gunn movie. Of course I'll do whatever it takes. Like that, those are all dreams. I don't really have like a set one goal, but if whatever I do in this world makes people smile, makes them happy, makes them not feel as crummy for a half hour or an hour of their day, and I can be a part of that, what else can I ask for? If I can create something that 100 years from now some kid is listening to on YouTube or watching and it brings them a smile, hey,
right,
good.
Yep.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
It is. Awesome, Eric. We're going to wind it up here. The last thing I want to shout out is I want to say Carlos Seguro, Forever Those Films, has stepped up. He's been helping us out, doing some media stuff, jumping on board here. We're going to have him in some shorts and some stuff coming up, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Welcome, Carlos.
Yeah, again, we're trying to grow and expand, and we just want the right people with the right mindset to jump on and kind of do what we're doing. But we're basically, at the end of the day, we're just a group of buddies that we just want to make creative stuff because we love it,
Yeah, come one, come all. Like anybody of any background, if you're just interested in being creative and you have a passion for this, bring your passion. It takes all to rock the world. Like a ship can't run with one person, two people. It takes a lot of people to run that thing. Yeah, and we're going to build and grow, and I'm telling you, I think we're going to end up being a force to be reckoned with in the area. I think we're going to put out some productions and get people... No, seriously, you don't want to see me activated. I'm about to activate. I don't even know what you're like. So you're trying to make a spin on you don't want to see me angry. I'm going to sell myself out right now. That's actually, my wife and I watch a show called Summer House. It's like on Bravo. It's like the trashiest you could ever watch. And there's this character, and she says that she's trashy too, and it makes me happy. But so you just that's your 10 pull. You're like, I'm going for the trash. You don't want to see me activated. You don't want to see. All right, activate. Let's go. Let's see it. We're going to activate. Eric, again, having you on was awesome because I want to give one huge shout out. This is the episode to do it to our families, to everybody that supported, both of us to get here. I mean, it's awesome. We love you. We can't, like, when the cameras are not on and the microphones are not on, we're talking about you guys. Like, we love each and every one of you. If you feel like you're a part of that, if you genuinely feel like you're a part of that, then you are. Yeah. And if you want to give us a little bit more support, like, subscribe, share, that stuff sucks. Like, I hate hustling the work. I want to be creative, but like literally, if you watch us or if you want to support us, even just doing something that small really does help the algorithm. It'll get us seen. It gets us out there. I'm going to say something right now. You can cut this as a short. Like, this needs to be said. If you're a YouTuber out there, stop posting up the picture that shows how many people watch your content and are not subscribed. Everybody understands the subscribe button. We get it. If we want to subscribe to your content, we'll click the button. Don't guilt trip us like that. Too many people are doing it, and it's a shame. I'm going to make it pop up right here. I'm going to do a subscribe just on our channel so everybody knows. No, don't even do that. Never do it. It sounds so low, like legitimately, it sounds so whiny. Like 86% of you are not subscribed, I've noticed. That's for you to realize, why isn't 86% of the people not subscribing to you but watching your stuff? Like, who cares? There's always going to be a massive amount of people who just come across your stuff and go, that was cool. I'm not going to stay here. That's fine. Right? Just stop guilting people. I hate it. We struck a chord again. Yeah. No, look, I'm a George Costanza type person. If you want, every week I can come in here and give you a rant of what's going on. I already told you earlier. What grinds your gears? Dude, I had an Amazon issue. I could come in here and complain about my like minute issues, first world problems completely. I get it, but I need to vent somewhere. Well, instead of venting, I'll tell you what. Yeah. We're going to end the podcast and we're going to be creative. We got a lot of stuff to do. Absolutely. So thank you for being on. You're welcome. I look forward to creating art with you in the future. Thank you for having me. It's Matthew McConaughey. Dude, no bullshit. There's something, check this out. There's something called the R-on-T phenomena. If you get hit in the chest at the exact right time, you can stop your heart. It happens like kids in sports. Wait, imagine we're sitting here and like just being jerks all the time. I'm just like, I'm out. I don't believe that. Swear to God, truth. You're telling me that like I could just sit here and beat my chest, and at some random point I could just stop my heart. R-on-T phenomena. Look it up right now. Dude, we're going for content right now, baby. Could you imagine? Like, also, like, you'd have to. I'm not fooling with that. You would need early defibrillation. Early defibrillation. That's how you fix that. And is that not
It
just the
puts you in
paddles?
VFib. It doesn't like kill you, but it puts you in VFib.
Okay. All right. I take your word
Hold
for
on.
it.
Okay.
This is an area of your expertise.
This is like the longest non-ending of a podcast ever.
Do you realize that you can cut this audio out and make multiple podcasts?
I could, but hold on. You know
Part
what grinds
one,
my
part
gears?
two?
You know what grinds my gears?
Yeah.
When they shock somebody on television, they're clear. Shock. Boom.
Clear. That thing?
They are not starting your heart. They are stopping your heart from a bad rhythm that is causing damage. Then we give the epinephrine that's supposed to get the heart started again with the CPR. But it's always misrepresented on television.
I don't know why. You don't think anybody would just double check. You know what I hate?
Well, it's just way more impressive to be like, clear shot. I mean, that's just way more
The
dramatic.
minds in art, what upsets me are those who like created these masterpieces, quote unquote, who didn't like, when you go back and learn how those movies were made, things like that, where they go, nobody's going to double check this. Yeah, 30, 40 years later, guess what? We are, and you're wrong about some things, including many TV shows and movies, apparently, who have defibrillation wrong.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, viewers, listeners, the both of you, you just got about 10 extra minutes of behind the scenes. We said we were ending footage.
Yeah, I can keep this going if you want.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Tune in next week.
Peace out. Now,
I was just doing
if you clap your hands a certain amount of time, you can stop your heart.